Welcome to this week's Forex Forecast. Make sure you let me know in the comments down below what pairs you're watching this week, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, starting things off with the US dollar index. The past week, the banks added 2,270 long contracts, and they also added 3,000 short contracts, which leaves them 79% long the US dollar. And in the private Discord group, I called out this demand zone here on the daily chart, and I said price is reacting or about to come into this daily demand zone, so definitely be careful of that, and I would not be shorting the US dollar around that time. And if you want access to that private Discord, as you can see on the screen, check out the Patreon, links in the description. You can join the Discord there. But we reacted off this demand zone and the dollar pushed up. But if we go to a weekly chart, you can see that we are headed towards this weekly area of supply. It's not a great supply zone, but we definitely could see some sort of reaction off of this weekly supply right here and possibly push down to this newly formed weekly demand that I just drew out. And if that happens, I think this would be a great dip buy for the US dollar. So be very careful going long the US dollar at this time. I'm all about trading with this trend that we've been seeing the whole time. But at the end of the day, since weekly supply is possibly in control right now, we could see the dollar move down and retrace to this weekly area of demand. All right, looking at EURUSD, the past week the banks added another 14,298 longs, and they also added 20,393 short contracts. They are 57% long on the euro. As you can see here, we still have that daily overall downtrend. If you are going to get short, I would target possibly 1.08, maybe even a little lower at this daily demand. If you are going to get in short, I would target if you're going to get in long, I would target 1.106. But overall, the trend is down on the daily chart. The trend is down on the weekly chart. So I would continue to be trading with that downtrend. I do not recommend buying the euro right now, unless you think that you have good reasons to believe that the US dollar will fall. If you look at a 4-hour chart here, there is a 4-hour demand zone here that is a pretty significant area of demand. As you can see, we had downward momentum, and then all of a sudden, boom, price shot up, and now we are reacting off of the zone that was responsible for that. So if you are going to get in short, I would at least wait for this 4-hour demand to be taken out. It does not mean that this demand zone is going to work and we're going to see the euro, push to very, high prices, but we could see a small reaction and then a drop down. So it might be best to wait for that 4-hour demand to be removed. If you really, really want to get in long, which like I said, I don't recommend, you could look for 15-minute confirmation in here, but profits should be taken pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think the best move is to wait for shorting opportunities. If something like this takes place on the euro, where we get some basing and then a nice push down, and maybe we have a 4-hour supply zone right here that you can look to get in short at. You can either take it as a set and forget or a confirmation trade. So at the end of the day, the Euro USD is looking very, very weak, and I would continue to trade with that trend. All right, looking at gold. In last week's forecast, I was talking about how if you wanted to get in long gold, I would wait for this zone to be taken out, and that happened. And if there was a zone that was responsible for removing that zone, that would be a good zone to get involved in. And as you can see here, that was a zone that was there, but price could barely pull back to it. And at the end of the day, gold is still looking very, very strong. There's actually a little zone right here that wasn't technically a zone. But at the end of the day, I drew this zone out and price never pulled back to it. But the theory was correct. It's much safer in a situation like this to wait for the significant supply zone like this to be removed before getting in long. So if you got involved there from last week's forecast, very, very nice. And if you want my zones throughout the week, like something like this, where you can get that pullback on my zone, check out the YouTube or Patreon membership. It's only $5 CAD per month. Links are in the description. Hope to see you guys join the team. But anyways, on to the COT report for gold. The past week, the banks added another 441 longs, and they got rid of 6,325 shorts. They are still about 80% long on gold. But as you can see, we've clearly lost momentum on gold on the 4-hour chart. And even if you look at a daily chart here, we've clearly reacted off of this supply zone at about 2040. So we might be pulling back to this daily area of demand. So if you do want to get in short, I would target right before this demand at about 1943. If you want to get in long, I forgot to put my target, but if you want to get in long, you could target 2020 and about 2040 right before this daily supply. but we could most likely be pulling back to this demand zone where it would be actually a great dip buy opportunity for gold. You can treat this zone as a set and forget zone or even a confirmation zone. If you don't know what confirmation is, definitely check out my tips playlist. I have everything in there for confirmation. And this zone might actually be best to look for 1 hour confirmation in. So how we're going to tell if it's going to pull back is if we go to the 4 hour chart here. This is a very, very, very significant demand zone right here, the one that we were just talking about. So if this gets removed, then I do think we'll be pulling that deeper pullback to that daily demand that was down here. If this holds and starts to move up, then I think we will see gold go to all-time highs. And it might actually be a good time to be day trading to the upside at that point. And if you do get in long down here, I would definitely look to take profits before this 4 hour supply zone. And if price starts to come up here and you want to get in long gold, I think it's best to wait for this supply zone to be taken out and wait for a new zone right there to be formed. On to USDJPY. The past week, the banks got rid of 11,993 longs, and they also added 883 shorts. That they are 82% long right now. If you do want to get in long on USD yen, I would target right before this daily supply at about 117.76 or maybe even 118. If you want to get in short, I would target right before this daily demand at 116. It is possible that we do see USD yen turn around, especially since I talked about that DXY US dollar index supply that is right there. So we could see, the US dollar pairs turn around. So this would be actually a great dip buy on USD yen. If you look at all the time frames on USD yen, we have a higher time frame uptrend. We have a beautiful weekly uptrend. So I would continue to trade with this trend on USD yen. There's a few opportunities that I see for possible day trades. There's a decent little 4 hour zone right here. So if something like this takes place, where we get a pullback to this 4 hour zone, you could in theory take this as just a set forget trade where your buy orders here and your stops below, and we get in long like that. Or you could use this zone as a 15-minute confirmation trade. If you go to a 1 hour chart, there's actually a 1 hour zone embedded inside of that 4 hour zone right here. So if you like to trade the 5 minute or the 1 minute, here's your zone right here to possibly look for a confirmation in to the upside. But it's pretty simple on USD yen right now. It's actually looking very, very decent for opportunities. Everything is trending up, so do not trade against that trend. If you want to get in short, I would at least wait for this 4 hour zone to be removed first, and that would be a good indication that price is going to be turning around. If you have a supply zone right here, then we could look to get in short. But at the end of the day, you should definitely just be continuing to trade with this trend, and I think you guys should do pretty well doing that. Before we get started with the GBPUSD, I just want to thank you guys for all the likes and comments last video. I really appreciate it. The video did very well, so I am once again asking you guys to hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't subscribed yet, and let me know what pairs you're watching down week. And I really, really appreciate all the likes and support I got last week. So looking at the pound, the past week the banks added 3,300 longs, and they also added 15,000 short positions. If you do want to get in long on the pound, which I don't really recommend right now, I would target right before this daily supply at 1.33. If you are going to get in short, I would target right before this daily demand at about 1.3. But overall, you could just continue trading with this pound downtrend. If price does come up to this daily supply, you could look for 1 hour confirmation in that daily supply. And if you're a day trader, we can look for some possible day trading opportunities. As you can see here, the nearest 4 hour supply zone is actually looking pretty decent. If price does come up to here, you could definitely look for 15-minute confirmation coming off of there like that, but be very, very careful. One thing that I've noticed throughout my trading career is that when price is reacting off a trend line right at a quality supply zone, a lot of the times you'll see a fake out and then a push up. So be very, very careful if you do plan on doing that. If you come to a 1 hour zone or 1 hour chart, there is a 1 hour zone right here. But ultimately, I think that 4 hour zone that's just a little bit above is going to be superior compared to this 1 hour supply zone. So right now, I would just continue to trade with that trend. Wait for that 4 hour supply zone to be hit to look for confirmation in. And if that doesn't happen and we continue to go down, then you could hop down to a 15-minute chart and possibly look for some set and forget trades. If you don't know what set and forget trades are, check out my tips playlist. I'm sorry I keep mentioning that, but the tips playlist is very good. and you guys should find a lot of useful information in there. So like I said, continue to trade with that trend. We have a weekly downtrend, daily downtrend, 4-hour downtrend, 1-hour downtrend. So I don't recommend catching that falling knife and trying to get long on the pound. All right, on to USDCAD. But first, I just want to give a very nice shout out to Julius, who is a Patreon/YouTube member who caught this nice 4-hour trade off of USDCAD. He took my Patreon demand zones and combined with my weekly Forex forecast and caught a nice 5-to-1 move off of this zone. We predict this move last week in the weekly Forex forecast. So congrats to you, Julius. Just wanted to give you a quick shout out. If you come over to a daily chart here, you can see that price is kind of going sideways. We've kind of pushed down from the high here. If you do want to get in long, you could target 1.29. If you want to get in short really quick, you could possibly target 1.265. But if we pop back over to the 4-hour chart, there's a zone right here. I actually removed it just so you guys could see that trade more easily. So we have a new 4-hour zone right here that is now in control. Yes, this zone is tested from this original zone right here, but buyers are in control. So any trades on the 15-minute, 5-minute, or the 1-minute chart should be to the long side. So you could be looking for 15-minute, 5-minute demand zones as we come off of this 4-hour area of demand. If you do feel like shorting the pound, the USDCAD, I do recommend waiting for these two zones to be removed first. Maybe there will be a 4-hour zone right here like that, and then we can see a nice push down. But overall, looking pretty bullish on the pound, and it's a decent little dip buying opportunity if you want to look for confirmation coming off of here. But like I said, be careful on USDCAD because this zone is very tested and used up, and it might actually be best to wait for a new 4-hour trend like that to take place before getting in long. Aussie US dollar. The past week, the banks added 6,800 longs and they also added 6,600 short positions. We are reacting off of daily supply, so daily supply is in control. If you do feel like getting in short, you could target 0.72. If you want to get in long, you could target 0.7365. Yes, the momentum on the daily chart is up, but daily supply is in control, and that I think is why we are seeing a little bit of downward pressure. There's no trend here. So in my opinion, if you do want to get in short, I think it's best to actually wait for this low to be removed first. Then we'll have that ability to draw that downward trend line. And I think taking trades to the downside on a 15-minute chart, a 5-minute chart, or a 1-minute chart would actually be very, very decent to do. So I'm really not seeing any decent zones to get involved with. There is a 4-hour zone right here. If price does come up to here, you could look for maybe a quick little 15-minute or 5-minute day trade to the downside. But other than that, I really don't see too many options for day trading this one. If you come to a 1-hour chart, there's really nothing going on. We had a nice uptrend here, but price reacted off of this trend line and then eventually broke that trend line. So if price does come back up to this 1-hour zone, you could maybe look for confirmation in there. But like I said, it might be best to wait for that 4-hour supply that's right above it and then possibly get in short. But right now, not really too many possible trades here on the Aussie dollar, so just might have to be a little patient this upcoming week and maybe look to trade other pairs. All right, on to USD Swiss franc. The past week, the banks got rid of 2,300 longs and they added 3,200 short positions. We are reacting off of this daily supply again. It was tested once right here. Now it's coming in for a second test, and as you can see, it's actually penetrating it a little bit deeper. If you do want to get in long, which is kind of sketchy right now to do, you could target 0.94. If you do want to get in short, I would target 0.93. But this one clearly is looking like it wants to break out, and we might even be getting a demand zone formed right here on the daily chart. We won't know until we get, at least another candle and the supply removed first. So any decisions will have to be made on a lower time frame. So let's hop over to the 4-hour chart here. As you can see, we have a beautiful 4-hour uptrend, but there's not a lot of zones in play here. Throughout the week, I will be updating this pair for the YouTube and Patreon members. So if we do see a nice push up in the USD Swiss like this, we will possibly get a zone right here. Then we can look to get involved on a dip buy on the 4-hour chart like that. But until that happens, I really don't see many opportunities. The only thing that I see here is on the 1-hour chart. Now, I'd be very, very careful with this 1-hour zone. And why? Because the move away isn't great. As you can see, we had a nice base, but it wicked right back in. But I drew the zone anyways. So if you do want to get involved in this area, I would have to get very, very good 5-minute or 1-minute confirmation in this area before getting in long. I do not recommend taking this zone as just, your target, your buy orders here and your stops below. Confirmation is definitely going to be needed on this demand zone. Other than that, I think the best thing to do is, like I said, wait throughout the week. Check out the Patreon, YouTube membership, and if I update a zone and it's right here on the 4-hour chart, then it might be a good dip buy. But other than that, not really seeing too many pairs, but I would just continue to trade with these lower time frame trends. Last but not least, crude oil. The past week, the banks got rid of 10,000 longs, and they also got rid of 3,000 short positions. It's been a crazy week for oil. We had a beautiful push up, and then all of a sudden, boom, price pushed down. It actually broke this demand zone right here, but that's all right. We're so overextended that it was kind of bound to happen. Now we could be pulling back to this daily area of demand, which would be a great dip buy at about 97.5. If you do want to get in short, I would target right before that demand zone at about $100 a barrel. If you do want to get in long, I would target right before this daily supply at about 120 or maybe a little bit before. Now, if you do want to short oil, which I would very go against trading against this trend, but you could look for confirmation in there, but profit should be taken very, very early. And like I said, you can look for confirmation in there. Now, if we hop down to the lower time frames, we are sitting in this 4-hour demand right now, but it's tested and it is clearly, used up. So if you want to get short and you don't want to wait for that bigger pullback, I would at least wait for that 4-hour demand to be removed, possibly leaving a 4-hour zone right here, and then looking to get involved like that. But until that happens, I do not recommend getting in short, and anything should be taken as a dip buying opportunity. Another option is to wait for a nice 1-hour confirmation coming off of this 4-hour zone. So if we come over to a 1-hour chart, we can take a look and see what that might look like. Well, right now there's really not too much that is clear. The confirmation for me that I would need is for this little mini zone right here to be removed. So once that happens, then you could possibly look to get in long, and we'll actually have a nice 1-hour trend like that. But oil's looking very, it's overall looking strong, but I think the last week we were just so overextended and price pushed up so much that we are bound to get that pullback. That might actually be a nice dip buying opportunity. Hopefully you guys found this weekly Forex forecast helpful. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership if you need help finding your supply and demand zones. It's only $5 CAD per month. Hope to see you guys there and hope to see you in the next video.